without God, we didn't have foundation, right? So we had that, we had our family, and we created a life for ourselves that today allows us to do a lot of different things. When we became empty nesters, we loved it, right? We were like so excited.
It's like your kids again, David.
It was amazing, but you know what? We weren't strangers.
Yeah, that's the most beautiful
Yeah.
part of this whole thing.
Yes.
You still knew each other.
Yes.
And you still loved each other. Maybe
Absolutely.
even more than you did at the beginning.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's like, I can't get enough of them.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Tori Cruz Show, where we're shining a light on real conversations and transformational stories with some of the most dynamic entrepreneurs and faith-driven leaders you'll ever meet. I'm Tori Cruz, your host, entrepreneur, virtual stylist, and former Miss Missouri USA, ready to guide you along this exciting journey. This isn't just any podcast. It's your new home for stories that uplift, conversations that transform, and a community that feels like family. From the real challenges to the exhilarating moments of achievement, we cover it all, infused with adventure, laughter, insights, and heartfelt discussions. So settle in, make yourself comfortable, and let's get this show on the road. This is the Tori Cruz Show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tori Cruz Show. We are sitting here in Dallas, Texas, right in the middle of a storm. So this is our round 2 for this interview. How fun is this? I'm sitting here with Madeline and David Ricci. We are so grateful to be here in Dallas, Texas with you guys. This is amazing. We want to first give a shout out to this amazing country club that we're at.
We do. We'd like to thank Robbie Peters for the general manager for Las Colinas Country Club. Wonderful country club. We are members, and he gave us this amazing space, and I'll pass it back to you. So thanks, Robbie.
This is amazing. Thank you so much, you guys. This is a beautiful, beautiful space, and I'm just so excited to be sitting here with both of you today because you're extremely successful entrepreneurs, business leaders, but the thing that I love most about them, you guys, is the fact that you have such a beautiful heart to serve and to really give back to your community as well. So I'm excited just to really unpack and peel back the layers of your journey of business and really how others can be inspired by your leadership as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are so thankful that you're having us here with you and in this beautiful space on a stormy day. So here we are.
Dude, we're sitting by the fire.
I know.
It's perfectly fine, right?
It is.
As long as no
You
light
don't worry.
strikes.
That's it. And it's 65 degrees outside. That just by the way.
So what's really beautiful about this situation is that we actually met at Chris and Lori's dinner series, and here we are in Dallas connecting and just talking about business and life, and we've spent a couple days together. And so anyways, I really want to talk about your guys' journey of where it really started in business, and we'll work our way up to where we are now. I know there's a lot to unpack here, but where did your business journey really stem from, and really that entrepreneurial spirit as well to serve?
Well, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know what that meant really, but what really catapulted that dream and that desire was when I did work for corporate when I was very young. When I climbed the ladder and I was able to get an office that I had to build from scratch. So they paid me basically to run my own office and turn in profits. And so I learned a lot through that experience of 18 years. And then, as David would tell the story, I love little side hustles.
Are you multi-passionate?
I am. I just love connecting with people, love selling. Who knew, right? People hate it, the word sales, but I don't. I actually love letting people know, because it is my responsibility. It's a moral responsibility to, if there's a good product out there and I'm using it, and they ask me, why not, right?
Exactly.
And so I did a lot of multi-level companies, such as jewelry and things like that. So that kind of like got me my juices going.
You were like their ideal target, weren't you, for network marketing?
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah, for
Yes,
sure,
yes, yes.
every time. And David, every time we're like, here we go again. And so, but he was always very supportive, and I made good money doing it. It's just that I get bored real quick, and so I just go to the next thing. I have a squirrel moments.
Right.
And so after 18 years of corporate, when the mortgage industry tanked, we opened our first business. And that one was one of those things that I'm not ever looking back. I'm taking my severance, and I am doing something. And so, interestingly enough, prior to that journey really coming into fruition, I went and did some digging and did some work myself. I wanted to see how I can better the process. and for real estate transactions and do closings and see what was happening at the closing table, because we did have fallouts a month in and things like that, so, which I couldn't understand. And so I was curious, and I got my license, and I went out there and started to dabble on that. And I came home and I said, oh my, we can do this so much better. But it was as if I put that, as I think about it now and know more about my faith and who I believe that has my back, it was like I put it out there and it came to fruition within a year. Yeah. Okay, and so I was jobless, right? I'm like, okay, I have no job, and I did this, but I did the research a year prior. So all I have to do is turn the switch and tell my clients that I was able to get through this year, hey, I'm 100% available. Yeah. And I did, and I made money the first month. Wow. The first month, I literally made up my paycheck, didn't I?
Oh, you want me to talk about it?
Yes.
No, yeah, we did. We were very fortunate. We made profit in the first month, and we did it different than most in the industry where a lot of the people that were in our space did it out of their garages or out of their home. We wanted Class A building. We wanted to set a tone to be more professional, because I think this is what we started finding out, is that the professionalism in the space wasn't what it was supposed to be or needed to be. It's an interesting question on the entrepreneurial thing for me. I started when I was a paper boy.
Paper boy,
right? Delivering newspapers. And I remember I took the route over from my brother. And about 6 months after I did, I started buying up other people's routes. So I guess I had it in me. Wow. I just didn't really want to do it, because my family was very structured. Yeah, Midwest, right? You go to school, you do this, and then you come out, you get a good job, you work hard, you get promoted, and then eventually you retire. Well, times have changed since that, right? So when Madeline was starting off in 2008, and I tell this to everybody, just because one's self-employed, you're both self-employed. And you're just constantly trying to figure out how do you grow that. And when we first started it literally was just to recap our paycheck. That was our growth expectation. We didn't want anything more. We weren't looking for anything more. I was doing really well in my corporate roles, and so that was it. And then this funny thing happened. We started to grow. And then it's like, okay, we don't have enough space to do this. So then it was really cool. We ended up taking space from one of our clients, and then we ended up taking out all of their space.
Wow.
And they were like, they actually was interesting. They were more business themselves, and they went into corporate. And we're like, oh, we'll take the space.
Yeah.
And it worked out perfectly. And then we just kept growing that one, and then we went into some other endeavors, and here we are today.
Yeah. Now we have diversified our portfolio. We believe that you have to have different streams of income. And
you have plenty with all your network marketing companies, right?
Well, we
don't
have those
anymore.
We don't do those.
We don't do those anymore. Yeah, we have different portfolios out there that we've learned to not just pigeonhole ourselves to one industry, because we know how that is, right? Especially the real estate industry. It could be amazing or not, right? It's never in between. And we have gone through some changes in the industry in the last, decades. It's very driven by the market, how it's doing in interest rates. And we decided to go into a franchise. And so instead of literally opening stores, what we decided to do was buy the whole territory and let people do that work, right? But with that said, we are also available to aid these people and help them be successful quicker. And so we're making ourselves available even for them. And David holds workshops for them, and it's fun to see them grow and change in their mindset, right? Because when it's a different mindset as an entrepreneur. And so,
certain breed.
Oh, absolutely. As we call it, a special kind of stupid.
Yes. I second that.
Okay. But we love it because we love the freedom that
Yes.
provides, the empowerment that provides, the connections that you get in your journey, the loneliness that you experience as well, because it's very lonely up on top, and the change in the dynamics of your relationships with your current friends, right? That they're not in the same thing. So it's a very interesting journey that one goes on. So yeah, the mindset does change dramatically when you're an entrepreneur.
Yes. So I want to talk about a little bit about the workshops that you teach specifically, and I know you do a lot with the internal mindset and just really honing in on that. So I would love to dive deeper in that with entrepreneurship, because there are so many different components that you have to that challenge you as an entrepreneur, mindset-wise, friendship-wise, just overcoming every single no that gets one step closer to your yes, as I always say. So what are some of those mindset techniques, or just really when you teach in your workshop, to really help expedite people's success?
Well, I think the first thing that most people going into business for themselves for the first time are usually coming from a corporate environment. And it's one of the things, it's on our new website, we work with really smart but stuck business owners, and we help them get to unprecedented success. But the first thing we have to change is the mindset of a manager to an owner, into a business owner. And most people getting into business are very smart. They have thought through it, they've been hesitant, but they've been used to having all these different resources, right? An IT department. When we first went into our business, I was the IT department.
So you're in every department.
Guess what I don't know anything about? I don't know anything about
Yes,
IT. But I learned it, right? And so back in the day, I'm networking in office, I'm networking different, pieces of equipment. But it's getting people to understand that you don't have that. And then you have to make decisions differently, because risk is reward if you do it well. And you're going to make mistakes, but mistakes aren't mistakes. They're learning opportunities. And if we learn from them, then we are truly entrepreneurs, right? Because most business people, when they hit that, that's the moment.
Yeah.
You either bust through it or you're out. And listen, we have the scab of all scabs. We have a $600,000 investment that keeps growing, and we've learned a lot. And it was a business. It started out really well, and then we got hit with COVID, and COVID just really took it for a downward spiral. But we've learned so much from the experience. But that's an entrepreneurial mindset, not I work for a big company, or I work for a business, and they're paying me a paycheck.
Right.
And then I think the other is really understanding how to pre-launch a business. What's important? You're in a kind of more of a retail environment, whether it's a fitness studio or, for that matter, any retail. How are you getting your brand out there other than digital, right? And how are you driving your industry to be, and what is your message? Why are you better than the other person? And getting them to think, right? Because they look at, and a lot of these new business owners sit there and wow, I thought it was you invested, you did the build out, and people just show up.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not that, right? And I think the other thing that we really work on is goal setting.
Yes.
And understanding. That's really, when we do our intensives, that's really how we take our two different skill sets and we join them. And Madeline does this phenomenal process of getting people to understand the mindset of goal setting, and then I come in and then I start doing the strategy around the goals.
That's
Power
right.
couple. Truly, though, I mean, that's when you can use both of your strengths and your talents and complement one another to then bring them together and help the world. That's
Absolutely
the definition of a power couple.
Yeah,
According to my dictionary.
No,
Yes.
it is, right? I mean, I don't want to call ourselves a power couple, but it is. We are very powerful together.
Yes.
We work well together. We understand each other's where we need to stay, which lane we need to stay in. I think that's important to know. But one of the things that I think is important when you are goal setting that I think often is missed is the value system. and we were just talking about it. This is how important is your value system. It is your compass. It is the one that's going to create the actions, the interactions, and all things that are going to help you show up authentically.
Yes.
And unless you don't have a value system, there's no way you're going to have goals that are going to be smart, right? And so I do go through a very interesting process that gives people aha moments at the moment that it's happening. And literally, it's so powerful that you can see change instantly.
So you create these instant results. How do you actually, what are the tactical steps that you teach others on how to actually create that value system? Because I think we think of values, but a lot of people don't know where to even begin. Like, what questions do they ask themselves?
So we break the value system in career, finances, money, because there's a value system for that too, right? We do family and friends and activities. What do you do to have fun?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the components. I do use a tool, it's called Mindset Dimension, that they go through a process of answering questions, and then it gives me a report, and I already see what's happening behind the scenes, right, behind that curtain. And so I'm able to customize that session for them and ask some very specific questions and see where is it that we really need help, right? That wheel of life. And so where is their strength and where are their areas of opportunities that they can gain insight right away. And so that's how I go about it, because my thing is about transformation. I love to see transformation happen in front of my eyes.
Yes, and know that you guided them to that transformation.
Yes.
Is really beautiful. And everybody's different, right? So it's this whole customized process that you teach individuals. And you teach people from all different industries, right? In these workshops and these events.
We do have two different types of client, right? Like for me, I like to work with that corporate emerging leader,
right?
Because I was that. I know what it takes to be that woman that needs to climb up the ladder and how to do it effectively in this modern corporate state age. And then we work it together from an entrepreneur standpoint.
Yeah, and interesting, we both go down the same paths, right? Because the entrepreneurship one, it's not an easy one, but it's a logical one because we're entrepreneurs. But since we both have the corporate experience, we both go down the same path, where she does some corporate work, and I also do corporate work, where I work with them on how, one of the other things that we talk a lot about with entrepreneurs, but it's really important for corporate, is mission statement versus statement of mission. And again, this is a little bit of a mindset adjustment for people, but if you go to almost anybody that has a mission statement, you ask them to repeat it, what will they say?
I don't know.
Right. And if you go to their employees and ask them, they don't know either.
Yes.
And they spend oodles and oodles of dollars and time to come up with that. And a mission statement is really about what you aspire to be, but what people don't do a lot is create the statement of mission, which is how I'm going to get to what I want. And so what we do in the corporate space is we bring in that alignment. And that's really where that combination of us working together in our fields of expertise really comes in, because she helps them align themselves.
Yes.
And then we come in and we help them understand how you're going to get to your goal. And the thing that most people don't understand is a mission statement really doesn't get changed. A statement of mission can be changed every couple of years.
That's so interesting. I was just speaking to actually interviewing another gal just yesterday about mission, vision, and values. And so, but how you say the statement of mission is super intriguing, and I think that is something that I could see being very beneficial for an organization and for their employees, right? It's understanding how to get to the goal, and you want to make sure your employees and your staff is very invested in that statement of mission.
Well, and when you talk about one of the things that's most critical for most businesses that they lack is communication, right? So when you have a good statement of mission, every one of your meetings, every one of your discussions, everything you do should align to that statement of mission. If it doesn't, it's worthless communication. from the standpoint of the business.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that having a cup of coffee with somebody and talking about what happened over the weekend isn't valuable, because
Right.
it is valuable from a culture perspective. But the pragmatic part of the business is that everybody needs to be aligned to where you want to go.
Right.
And obviously, with years of corporate experience, how many meetings have I been in that had no purpose at the end of it? And you said, I just killed an hour
Yeah.
or longer, right? And it could have been done in 10 minutes, and we could have a real discussion about something of value.
Yeah. I think there's some people that are listening and maybe they're still in corporate or they just got themselves out of corporate. But I think I want to focus on the people right now who are maybe thinking about going into entrepreneurship. How do they know when is the appropriate time to make that leap of faith? Because that's what it really is a leap of faith into entrepreneurship.
It's funny, leap of faith. We take leap of faith every day.
Absolutely.
Getting in a car and driving to work.
Yeah.
Because it is interesting from that standpoint, because they say that, oh, how do I take that leap of faith? Just do it.
Yeah.
Do it. If you have the financial resources, for me, I just did it.
I was just going to say, we're going to have the strategy
Yeah.
part over coming around.
Yeah. This is where our dynamics are very interesting. I just jump.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out on my way out. I'm sure it'll be okay.
Right.
David, on the other hand, will come around and say, hey, wait a minute, can we talk about this?
Which, having that balance, I can imagine
Yes.
in a marriage is
Yeah.
really beneficial.
It really is.
But I feel, I can do it. I have done it. I feel I trust him so much
Yes.
that I take the leap of faith because he's got my back. Right?
Wow.
Do you have my back?
I have your
Yeah,
back.
no,
I have your back.
that trust
Yeah.
in
Oh, I
commitment
know.
is
trust.
everything.
So one of the most important things that we learned early on, and then I want to address your question because I think it needs some strategy. But
I'm with you, girl. I'm like, I'm just
understanding roles and responsibilities. So it was very important for Madeline and I to learn early on when we were in our first business. We kept tripping on each other, and like, well, are you going to do that? Because if you're going to do that, then I'm not going to do that. But then we didn't have that conversation really. We just both stopped doing it, and it had to be done. And so what we really found out is that Madeline in our business relationship, and probably our personal as well, is more the visionary, and I'm more of the integrator. Now Madeline's a phenomenal integrator, and I'm an integrator with some vision.
Yeah.
So that's a little scary, but probably what's made us really do as well as we have is because we can have both conversations. But it's understanding what your goal is. But going back to your question, I think it's really important. There is no bad time to go into business for yourself. I started with Madeline that I actually said that out loud. But
Glad you're sitting down.
yeah, but I think though what you have to do before you do it, and this is where I get into the strategy stuff, is first, you have to do a business plan. And most important part of that business plan is you need to know what your exit strategy is going to be, right? Because if you have a really good exit strategy, and I'm not saying you're going to sell the business, I'm not saying it's going to be a generational wealth, you have to come up with whatever that is. What is your exit strategy? Because then and only then can you back into all the things that you need to do. And now how do you know you're on pace? How do you know what your goals really need to be? How do you know any of that? And so, yes, Madeline will say, I'll just figure it out, and I'm doing, okay, well, there's expenses along with that, right? What does it look like? Not that she doesn't know it. That energy push is what's really what drives us. And I would tell anybody, you need to have that energy push. And that push off you the ledge, everything else will work out. It really will. It's just easier if you actually thought about it maybe 30 seconds before you jump,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
so that's all I would tell anybody that's looking at it is pick something that you know is easier than picking something you don't know. If you have something that's really creative, that's not been done, or you're going to influence a market, okay, then maybe you don't look at a franchise. But understanding what type of business you're going to go into is just as important.
Yeah, and to that point, and I know I joke around because I just jump, but also you need to evaluate, are you interested or are you committed? So are you interested in being an entrepreneur entrepreneur? And do you understand what that means?
Yeah.
Or are you committed to become one and be successful at it no matter whatever is going to happen along the way? Because things are going to happen. And you might think that this is what I want to do, and it might turn out to be something completely different, right? And you're going to either go with it or you're not. So you've got to really understand, how committed are you really?
That is such a great point. And it brings up something else that we've talked about on our podcast and things that I know we've written on is the idea of the quote-unquote absentee owner. And when I'm coaching and consulting people, I say, first of all, you need to get that idea out of your head. Because an absentee owner will not be an owner of anything for very much longer. You still, even if you have a large business and you're the owner of that business, you can't be absent. You may not work every aspect of that business, but I think that's a disservice that people hear out there. Oh, you can start this business and you don't have to really be involved. You hire a manager. Well, who's managing the manager? Who's looking at the financials? Because we all know this. You hire anybody, they don't care about your business as much as you do.
Yeah.
Right? They're just waiting for you to write them a check at the end of every 2 weeks or whatever. Right? So I think that being committed means that you're engaged and you're involved. The level of engagement and involvement depends on the type of business, right? So if you're a solopreneur, there's no such thing as an absentee owner, right? You are it,
You are everything.
right? And so then it comes down to what skill sets that you have, and we do this as well in one of the things that we teach is what can I do, what can't I do, what should I do, what shouldn't I do. And then we do a cost analysis on all the things that probably you should really actually outsource. That takes a little bit of time and a little bit of effort, but that's an owner that's engaged. He doesn't have to be doing the work. He just has to find the right way of getting the work done.
I think it's so important in every stage of your success. And so one of the things I think we talk a lot about delegating different tasks. How you kind of give us a little formula there of like when to stay in your specialty, what to delegate, what not to do. But how do you actually know is there a certain characteristic trait, or like how do you actually know if somebody's aligned in the sense to hand over this area that you've been doing as the owner? Sometimes it's hard to release that control factor, but it's so valuable when you find that person.
So I love the strength finder. I like to see what that person's superpowers are and how do they align with me. I understand that nobody's ever going to do it like me, but if they can do it 80% of what I can do, I can live with the difference, the 20%, I think that I'm good. Yeah. It's never going to be perfect. It depends on the business too. And so, for me.
Yeah, and first of all, I want you to, that was not how she started.
No.
That's a hard thing for a business owner, entrepreneur to use the right word. It's giving up control of something. So, from an operational perspective, though, it's actually relatively simple. For example, one of our businesses, I thought for sure I'm smart enough and I can do all this stuff. I can create funnels. I can do this. So I buy the software, I buy the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could do it, and I did some landing pages, and they weren't bad. But the amount of time it takes to learn how to do it, the cost to buy the software, and then all the testing and all that other stuff, it was actually cheaper for me to hire someone that actually knew how to do it, and then it's a process of your selection criteria. But I firmly believe that everything should be evaluated to be outsourced if it can get you to where you want to go quicker, faster, and it doesn't have to be, as Madeline said, 100%. But honestly, if you're trying to learn it, you're going to be the 80% of their 100%. Now the question is it worth it? And so, to me, it's a real simple process. And that's why when I said that earlier, can I do it? Sure. Should I do it? That's a whole different question. Yeah. And if I can't do it, there are times that it's actually fun as an entrepreneur to say, I'm going to learn how to do that myself. But it better not be something that you need to get done quickly.
Yes.
And so it's logical. Can I do digital marketing? Sure. Am I good at it? No. So why would I do it? Hire somebody. No.
Yeah.
I do believe this, and this is something that's been very important for us. When we bring somebody on to do something for us, we learn enough to be extremely dangerous
Yes.
so that we're asking the right questions.
We got burned a lot.
Listen, we are not, anybody that says they built their first business or their second business and it's just perfect, it's a rarity. I'm not going to say they're lying, it's just a
I don't
rarity.
think it happens.
So we learned a lot of valuable lessons.
Yes,
and,
we did.
and we learned that we better know at least something about what they're doing so that we can ask a good question. And if you can ask a good question, you put that person back on heels. And especially in the digital space. It's hard.
Very hard.
And to this day, I'm going to tell you, I'm not an expert in it, and I don't want to be.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. I don't want to be. I don't want to do that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's so important to also stay in your zone of genius and the things that also light you up. Because at the end of the day, that's why you became an entrepreneur.
Right.
You didn't become an entrepreneur to start a business that you didn't like or you didn't love doing and, didn't like helping the people that you serve.
For sure. And I love operations. I am a great operator. However, I'm better as a visionary because in operations, when things don't go my way, things get spicy and people get unhappy with me because I want things a certain way. And it took a lot of growth personally and a lot of patience and a lot of maturity to know that and get to that point. Because it was 100%. I wanted somebody to do exactly, duplicate what I was doing. And that doesn't exist. It just doesn't, right? But I could find somebody that complements what I am not strong at and teach them what I am very strong at, right? Somebody that has somewhat of a personality like me, that is a go-getter. It's gonna go through that wall and it's going.
That's really true. Most people over there, it's a really interesting question because we go down so many different paths, right? But like when you're hiring, are you trying to hire you? You already have you. So you're hiring someone that is of the same culture and mindset as you. The skill, you can teach most skills.
Yeah.
What you can't teach is do they have the same or a solid belief system? Is their value system the same? So I always tell people, because I'm trying to find someone just like me. You have you.
Well, if you're gonna find somebody like you, they'll go do it themselves.
That's right.
And so it's interesting though the language that is used when people are trying to hire and they don't do the due diligence. When we opened our first boutique fitness studio several years ago, I put every single one of those girls through a DISC assessment. I wanted to see.
Was this after you hired them or before?
No, before.
Yeah.
Yeah, before we put them through and to see if that was even a good fit for me because I have a very strong personality and I was a
Shock of it.
I was a perfectionist, right? And I am a very high D on the DISC assessment, right? And so I was at the time. I don't know now. I've changed a lot, so I'll be curious to take it again.
We're still
But it's just that I expect things to be done right because I want to give that customer experience.
Yes.
And so it's me.
So what's really interesting here is, and I love the little comments back and forth between
The banter.
Yeah, the banter. It's great. But you run a very successful company. You're very successful business owners, but you also have your marriage,
Yes.
right? And I think that's the thing that stands out to me is how in the world do you keep this? You've been married for what, 23 years?
23 years.
23 years, which is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you're running these businesses, but then you also need to focus on your marriage outside of business. I feel like there's sometimes an overlap. But how do you manage both?
Well, I can speak for me.
Let's see both perspectives. Let's see both perspectives.
No, actually, I think I'm going to speak for her as well. But then you can speak.
Okay.
I think I'm going
Thank
to
you.
echo what you're going to do.
Thank you for the permission.
You're welcome. I invite you. But one thing we never did is forget that without us, there is nothing else, right? So even with our kids, right? Yeah, they were extremely important. We were at every event. We did all these things. We still have dating. We never gave up dating. It may not have been as frequent because of activities, but we never gave it up. And I think our girls knew that, is that was important for us. They would laugh. I mean, don't get me wrong, we got in arguments, and our oldest would say, she would have friends over, they're getting in an argument, and then they're like, don't worry about it, about like 10 minutes, they're going to just start laughing. And we would, right? So interestingly enough, when we started the concept of Entrepreneurial, we started it with the idea that we were going to put a course or some masterminds in on couples working together. And the other thing that we really did well is, as I said earlier, is roles and responsibilities. In business and in your personal, there are some things that I shouldn't be doing, and there are some things that she shouldn't be doing. And it's not because we can't do them. The other's just better at it, right? And so we did that. Like, if it had to do with the girls' school, that would come down Madeline's path, right?
Yeah.
But if it had to do with other things, then it might have been my path, right? And so everything we did together, but yet we allowed the other to take the lead. And it wasn't like, I can do that, or I should be that. And we did that in business as well. I will too be the first to tell you, I have all the confidence that she can be the face of our companies.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. I'm okay not being on camera or in front of people, right? That's
She was made for the camera.
She was, and that's why I hired her. No. Clearly, it's not
Then
me.
you put a ring on.
Yeah. But that was what we did, is we just started figuring out very quickly what it was. And a lot of couples that suddenly they become empty nesters, they don't know what to do. We know what to do because we never stopped doing it, right? We never stopped being a couple.
Right.
So good.
And so, I mean, that's my take.
It's true. I mean, you're 100% right. We respect each other as well. We don't just respect our opinions. David is amazing, and I mean, I have to say, I'm a lucky woman, and our daughters even say to me all the time, and even to him, I know that the day that I find a man, it'll have to be like Dad. So he has been an incredible example to them, and they love him dearly, and sometimes the youngest will call him the white grumpy old man because he can get in his soapbox sometimes. But you know what? We let him, and he'll be fine. And yeah, so he never stopped dating me. He loves me hard.
Okay, that was so good what you just said. Like, both of you just, how to still date one another.
Yes.
The importance of trusting each other, but also the respect.
Yes.
And just the fact that your daughter said that, it just like literally almost brought me to tears, because I feel like it's every parent's dream, right? To hear that from your kids, that especially daughters saying that they want to find a man just like you, it's like,
I know, right? He has been, and our oldest is from my first marriage, being completely transparent, and David took her when she was 8 and met her when she was 7. Right away, he took that role of a dad, and he was incredible. And that's what she's seen, right? As she's seen that man that absolutely loves on her, tough on her as well when he had to be, in a sense of hold her accountable and show her good values. Because, like I said, the value system is a compass, and unless we don't have those, we can't go on. And so he did a phenomenal job, always reminding her 3 things, right? You would say 3 things.
I only had 3 rules.
3 rules.
For the girls. One was, and the funniest thing at the end is you understand why the last rule is the trick of this, right? So from the day they would be able to understand this, first rule was do your best in school, pick up your room, and do all your stuff, right? And the third was obey mama. And so as they got older, things expanded, right? So you do your best in school, but your best isn't necessarily always what you think it is, it's what you're capable of, right? And so that kind of moved around every once in a while, of course, and stuff like that. When they started getting older and they had more responsibility or driving, right? Pick up your room was take care of the car. It just grew, right?
yeah.
But the trick was, I said, and I explained it to them as they got almost like 16, 17. The trick is the obey mom.
Yeah.
Because anything you do, if it doesn't fall under what she thinks is the right thing to do, you didn't do it. And so I remember my dad, who is a psychologist, and I told him these rules. He was just amazed that I came up with the obey mommy thing. Because it's always obey mommy. It's never, your dad. Your dad's just going to be your dad.
But the one thing we did really well for them too is empower them to be their own person. Especially my youngest, because I learned a lot with my oldest. I was not the perfect model for her, but I was the perfect model because I always made sure that she was a priority in my life as a single mom for a little bit, right, before I met David. And so I did all things for her because, as a single mother, you feel guilty that it's only you and her and that you're missing this part, but she never wanted for anything. But when David came to my life, he was even, it amplified his core values, his value system, helping me putting it together for our family. It was incredible. I was young, right? So didn't have a compass then, but the young one, which is our daughter together, she is that girl, right? That obeys mommy and follows all the rules, and she's daddy.
For the most part, she follows
the rules. It's wonderful, but it has been a journey for sure. But our family was first. God was right there with them. Without God, we didn't have foundation, right? So we had that. We had our family, and we created a life for ourselves that today allows us to do a lot of different things. When we became empty nesters, we loved it, right? We were like so excited.
It's like your kids again, baby.
It was amazing, but you know what? We weren't strangers.
Yeah, that's the most beautiful part of this whole thing.
Yes.
You still knew each other.
Yes.
And you still loved each other.
Absolutely.
Even more than you did at the beginning.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's like, I can't get enough of them.
Well, you know what I think is the cutest thing that I wanted to share with everybody quick is we were doing another interview right before this, and you weren't in here yet, and David walked in, and I was like, did you guys go grab lunch while we were filming the other interview? And he's like, no, we were just sitting right there, and we just thought of some more business ideas. Yeah, and I just thought it was so cute. Like, it literally sounded, when you said that, David, it sounded like a new couple that just had met. They were just so excited to talk and meet each other, but that's the most beautiful thing ever with your relationship is that not only are you both living in your calling and your purpose and making the world a better place by, that's a whole other episode of your guys' community and your network and how you just overserve everybody. It's unbelievable. But you're also so in love as well because you trust, honor, and respect one another. And I admire both of you for that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'm so grateful for both of you coming on the show today. I wish we could talk for another 2 or 3 hours. But we might just film another episode here when we're on one of the dinner series about networking and connection and building that massive community of people, because one of the things that's so interesting about you guys too is your social media presence, right? Like, it is not something that's just absolutely, it's huge. I want to actually dive deeper into that as well and really how you have created this masterpiece of a beautiful networking community too.
Absolutely, and it's what we talked about last night, remember? Being influential versus being an influencer. And so I would say that we are influential, right? Because we have created things that people trust us, right? And it's a long-lasting relationship. So that's why we are influential. We are influential in our community. We're influential with our friends. I can literally introduce anybody and to anyone, and they will do business because they trust me with my selection process. And that is really truly being influential.
Well, there's just a little teaser, you guys, for the next episode that we'll be recording maybe in Beverly Hills, right?
Yes,
that would be fun.
Thank you so much for having us. We are so grateful that we met at Chris and Lori's dinner. That you were able to spend the weekend here with us. It's been amazing.
Well, I'm so grateful for, of course, meeting you at Chris and Lori's, and then you just so generously opening up your home to me too when I'm here in Dallas. I'm so grateful for both of you, and just really excited to see where this friendship evolves into, and just for also the connections that you have introduced me to just in this short period of time in Texas during this
I
podcast
know.
tour.
That's
So
crazy.
you never know what God's up to.
That's
And
right.
just super grateful to have both of you in my life. And thank you for coming on the show and taking the time today
Thank
to
you.
do this.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tori Cruz Show. If today's episode inspired you, let's keep the momentum going. For our YouTube family, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you're always in the loop with our latest episodes. And for our podcast listeners, your ratings and reviews are incredibly valuable. They help us reach more people and continue bringing inspiring stories your way. Remember, this isn't just a podcast, it's a growing community of family. Every like, share, and review helps us grow on our journey together, helping us to highlight more impactful stories. Until next time, keep being the light for yourself and others. See you on the next adventure.